Steve and Alan's pro tips in a short time. Learn a lot.
Hey, Steve.
Hey, Alan.
Today we're joined by a loyal listener and longtime friend of the podcast, Kyle Engelhardt, who teaches high school band and, full disclosure, has worked with both of us in different ways over the years.
Yes, and that is what today's quick pro tip is all about. The value of bringing in outside help, whether it's a clinician, guest conductor, leadership trainer, or even just someone to help you think through programming. It can make a huge difference.
So we're going to try our best not to brag in this episode, but
Too late.
What do you call it? Humble brag? Is that what it is? Yeah. Kyle, you've worked with both of us quite a bit. You want to share a little bit about what that's looked like over the years?
Sure. Thanks for having me on. I think 15, 16 years ago, my colleague and I, Gerald Ramsey, we talked about some of the problems we were having with our marching band. And we said, we should bring in a leadership guy. And who should we bring in? And Alan's name came up because he was working with my friend Steve Shanley's band or my friend David Lang's band and had done a good job. And so I called both of them and they said, yeah, he's good, bring him in. And we brought him in and we saw some immediate improvements. That very first year, we went from, kids were struggling to be good leaders to then all of a sudden taking ownership of their role within the band, helping kids start rehearsal on time, getting out to the field with all of their equipment, basically meeting needs so that everyone could have a more productive, more valuable rehearsal. And our band sounded better. So it was a win-win.
So I'm always kind of curious about this when I talk to people who have had a clinician in or a leadership consultant. What percentage of the advice do you find yourself taking? Because I think when I talk to people, they sort of feel like it's an all or nothing type deal where, well, we don't quite agree with everything so-and-so says when they come in. How do you view that?
What we try and do is see what really resonated with our students. Over the course of Alan's presentation, I would say, do we take all of it? No. Do we take the majority of it? Yeah. A good 80, 85, 90% of it is very applicable to us and to our students. And then the 10% that isn't, it's still good for them to hear. It's good for me and Gerald to hear, but maybe that doesn't apply directly to our program in that year or in that situation.
I'm also kind of curious, since you have had Alan in particular in for a while, you probably have a pretty good idea of what he's going to do. And why don't you and your colleague just take care of the leadership training? Why don't you save some money and do it yourself, since you probably know what he's going to say and do?
That's a great question. I think for
us... No,
it's
not.
It's a great question. It really is.
It is.
Should we do it ourselves? I just feel like if Alan's there and Alan says it, the kids believe it. If I do some of the things that he does or say some of the things that he says, kids will just roll their eyes at me. They've heard me try and say stuff like that before.
Or they're used to you tell them second finger, that note's too long. Yeah.
Yeah. When Alan says it, it's a new voice and he can tell them in a different way or in a different story how it's worked for other students that he's taught or other groups that he's worked with. And all of a sudden it means a lot more versus, well, this is what we do. This is our school. Do it this way. And for me to sit back year after year after year and hear Alan say these things and go, oh yeah, I need to do this and be a better teacher too.
Thanks for the kind words, Kyle. Really, really appreciate hearing that. And I love working with you. Love working with your students over the years. I'll do your bragging for you. Your jazz ensemble was selected to perform at the Midwest Band and Orchestra Clinic just a couple of years ago. And I know Steve's been helpful to you over the years with jazz programming and jazz pedagogy. Can you talk a little bit about how Steve's been helpful to you in that area?
When you're putting your kids out there and playing at different conferences or clinics or even just your home shows, that you bring in some outside opinions. It doesn't have to be the Midwest Clinic. It should just be part of your curriculum and part of your program that you're bringing in people that you trust and respect to work with your students and give them a different perspective. Even if it's them coming in and saying, this is great, you're doing everything right, super, awesome. That makes me feel good, and my students look at me and they go, oh, he's not such a doorknob. The thing about bringing somebody in to help you is that it gives you a chance to sit back and observe your students. It gives you a chance to sit back and hear with clean ears what somebody else might be hearing for the first time. And I'm a big fan of bringing people in and I sit back and I just take pages of notes. It's great to just sit back and be there and be close by, but let the clinician work. And Steve has done that for me over the years. My very first IBA band, I knew I wanted Steve to come in, and he just had a band there. And I was like, this is the first time I've ever done this. What do I need to do? What am I doing wrong? He's kind of my cleanup guy. Right before we go somewhere and perform somewhere, I'm like, Steve, I want you here 2 weeks before we go play and perform at this big concert. I've had other clinicians in. Now you get to come in and be like the final boss.
I think I know the answer to this, but what makes Steve the unique guy who can come in after 10 people have already come in?
I think it's just the fact that he's been there and done it. And also, he's looking at it from the audience point of view. He's looking at it from the student point of view. And then he's looking at it from the band directors in the audience point of view. And one of the big things that I'm always like, hey, is this program order right? Does this make sense from start to finish?
Well, thanks for all that, Kyle. One thing that I appreciate, I think Steve probably does too, it's how open you are to bringing in help. Because some teachers feel that doing that somehow means they're not doing their job, relying on somebody else. But you're showing that it's really the opposite.
And also, I should point out, too, that in the case of me coming to work with your group, or I would imagine Alan as well, that it goes both ways, that it's a learning experience for me to get to go see, oh, I didn't know this piece of music, or how did you find this composer? And, Alan and I both routinely will ask you for help with the very same things. Alan will ask you for advice on how can I make my leadership workshops better? And then I think the next year when I had a group playing at a conference, Kyle was one of the people I had looking over my stuff. So it isn't so much like this person is in a mentor role and this person is in a mentee role. And one thing I particularly love seeing here in Iowa is when young teachers who are in their first, second, third year of teaching, they'll all kind of gang up with one another and they'll all help one another out.
Yep.
None of them are experts yet, but they're all just sort of fighting the good fight together. And I think that's really what this is all about. It's not even as much this person has this great, amazing level of expertise that I don't have. It's just, as Kyle has said repeatedly, another voice and another perspective on maybe saying the same thing can make all the difference in the world. And clearly, Kyle, your students are benefiting from that mindset that you have.
Yeah. And for everybody listening, it doesn't have to be Alan and Steve. You find the person who speaks to your program's needs, whether we're talking leadership, musicality, getting a concert choir ready for a contest, programming advice, or just anything you're working on, just someone your students haven't heard before.
Yeah, a good clinician isn't going to replace you. They are going to reinforce what you are already doing. They're going to say the same things you've been saying, but maybe in a different way. And sometimes that's all it takes for it to click with the students.
And if you don't know who to bring in, reach out to your college where you recently graduated and say, hey, can you do this? And they'll say, no, I'm 4 hours away. But here's somebody in the area that you should call.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to make that first call. And if you can't get somebody in, if it just doesn't work with schedules, record your band and send it off to somebody and say, hey, do you have time to listen to this? What should I be doing better? And see what they say. It's a wonderful way to grow as a teacher. It's a wonderful way for your students to get better.
Yep. Asking for that help, it's not a weakness. It's just one of many strategies you can use.
Well, thanks a lot for being here, Kyle, and for trusting us with your students over the years. You've built a great thing, and you've been really helpful to us, as Steve said.
Thank you much, guys. It's been a pleasure.
Steve and Alan's pro tips in a short time. Learn a